need to talk about how we see God blurry, isn't it? This is the first step where we are all together now. We are here, and most of us have a very confused picture about God. Or sometimes it's a lot of ideas that we think that God is, and then we discover later on that God is not. So to start with, actually, I would start with a story that's actually happened. You know, nowadays, and it has been like this for nearly a few years, there are a lot of Egyptians or a lot of people around the world, they would come to America with the lottery. The American lottery is very famous. Everybody wants to come to this country, so everybody is applying to the lottery to come. And then it happened, a story that's really interesting. In this village, it's a widow. She has only one son, and this is all her life. But the son is growing up, and he is thinking of having better life, wanted to come to the U.S. So he keeps on applying every year for the lottery, and one day, hey, I got it. And he was so happy, and what he did, he just went to his mom, and he was just screaming of laugh and joy, and he's telling her that he will change her life as well as his. And the mother didn't understand anything about what he's talking about and what this country looks like. But she knew that this country will give her son a good future, will give her son lots of money, and her son will send her lots of money so she would live in a different life. So she said, okay, I will just go ahead. But Mom, I'm sorry, I can't take you with me. You have to stay here because it's not allowed that I would take you. The mother was so sad that her son would leave her, but still she let him go because he would have a better life and a better future. And the mother sent her only son to this new land and waiting every day that he will send her something, a letter, a picture. He would talk to her. But then the son actually is getting busy. But every day the mother is waiting for something from him. And from her own perspective, she starts to build up a feeling that her son is not actually a faithful son because he just dropped her. The son is not a good son. And all her effort to raise him in a good way, in her eyes, has gone. In her feelings and in her understanding that the son dropped her totally. And she keeps on coming to the church, complaining that she is alone, she's suffering, and she's crying, not only because of poverty, but because mainly of her son that who dropped her. And he is not a good son at all. This is what she sees the situation, and she's suffering, she's crying. And a year after a year, she is not actually feeling well. And her feeling is growing up against her son. And now her big love to him has been changed. Not only that he is not good, but great disappointment that this son just is not good. And she lives in a very bad situation. She's very poor. She needed someone to take care of her. And imagine these feelings of this mother. Do you think the relationship of this mother with her son would look good? She longs for him, but she's so disappointed with him. Until one day came that the church sent one of the ladies to serve this woman. She's an old woman, very poor, starting to be very weak because she's getting old. And then this young lady, she went in with this woman to take care of her, clean for her things, and just to take care of her needs. And she discovered a big wall that there are papers like this, all the walls. And then this young lady, she's asking this woman, why you're putting all this here? And she said, yes, my son is always sending me this paper, and I don't know what it is, and I don't understand what it is, so I just put it there. And this servant lady, she looked at, this is all checks. This is money. Your son has been sending to you all this money, and you live in poverty? Imagine. And this woman looked at her and said, this is money? No, this is not money. And this young lady collected all the checks from the wall, and she gathered them, and she came to the church with a big bunch of checks like this, money orders, that she could go just to the banks and cash them. And this woman, suddenly, she got a fortune. And I just mentioned this story, which is a real story, for you to see how do you feel, how do we compare this lady and how she looks at her son, the disappointment that she had with her son, and ourselves, and disappointment sometimes that we have with God, because we don't know how He is dealing with us. So the first thing that it brings us to this blurry situation or black and white situation that actually we don't understand, we don't know how God is acting with us, how God is dealing with us, and how He is giving us. And this is sometimes the gifts of God for us is so generous, and we don't understand what is going on. So I think this would be the first reason for us to have a blurry picture about God. So think with yourself, how much do you know about God? And here I want to tell you, it's not a knowledge just of information. The knowledge of God is not an information thing. You can just go, Google God, and then you will find tons of information about God. And that doesn't make you having a knowledge about God. To make you just feel God, it's exactly, I always say, it's exactly about the difference between if someone would tell me the taste of water, and someone else would give you a cup of water. And we need to experience God and taste God, and this is the information and the knowledge. We need to know God. That means I need to have good good knowledge about God. And to know God is not someone would dictate to you about God, but someone that will just dig inside you and help you to know God. And without it, you will not be able to search the situation with God. The story of Moses and the burning bush is very important. In the beginning, Moses didn't know whom he's talking to. In the beginning, just Moses was so much attracted by the vision that something is burning and it's not burning. Something strange here about God. Something strange that's happening there. But then he came closer, and then there is a conversation here with God. But the beautiful question that Moses was asking God, who are you? I want to know you. And this who are you, it was clear. And then I think the question that God is answering, I felt that maybe God will tell him, I am so and so. It's very strange that God is answering him, I am whom I am. I am. Because then actually there is nothing else that you could tell about God. I am. It's like the water. Yes, just taste the water. That's it. I am. You can't just form and frame the God according to what you wanted this God for, but you need to see the God who actually he is. And that's why the blurry situation is lacking of knowledge. This is one important situation. The second reason that why we are seeing this blurry picture, I will tell you another story, but this is not a real story. It's just a story that we learn from. Actually, there was this fisherman, and this fisherman, one day he was sitting with his wife, and they are having good time together, and they were sitting by the sea and just looking far into the horizon. And then the wife starts to tell him, imagine all these people that they are very rich. Why don't we live like them? And he starts to just discuss with her as well. He went along with her with the waves and started to fly like birds together and flying to imagine themselves living in a big mansion. All these beautiful things that they wanted to do. And the daydream starts to become really big. And then they say, oh, that's never happened. We still here are poor people, and we have to accept that. But suddenly, he's telling her, okay, we need to have dinner. Let's go fish something and come and eat. Then they went, they caught a fish, and while they are cleaning it, then they found a big stone, a big precious stone. And then he looked at it and said, oh, our dreams will come true. That's a great thing. Oh, that's something that they start to build up. And now the dream actually became closer to them, that they will actually have the dream come through. So this fisherman took the precious stone, and he went to the jeweler, and he said, would you like to buy this? It's a very beautiful stone. And the jeweler looked at it and said, wow, this is actually a beautiful stone. But I'm sorry, I cannot pay you the price. All my life I lived honest, and I never cheated on anybody. This is a very precious stone. If I sold everything I have, I would never get the price for you. I tell you, I advise you, you go to the dealer of dealers. Okay. So the fisherman went to the dealer, the big dealer, and he said to him, okay, I have this stone. How much it costs? And the dealer of the dealer, the big man, said, oh, I'm sorry, this is so precious. I cannot give you the money for it. I tell you, the only person who would be able to pay this price is the king. And the fisherman said, oh, how can I go to the king? It's too far away. He's too big. I can't reach him. Then this man said, okay, I'll take you to the king, and he will give you the price for it. So this big jeweler, the chief jeweler, went with this fisherman, and they went to the king. And the king, as soon as he saw the precious stone, he said, wow, this is the one that I've been looking for. This is the thing that I wanted. This is the only thing I wanted. What kind of price I can give you? And the fisherman said, oh, anything, Your Majesty, anything I can take, I can receive anything from your hand. And the king looked to the jeweler and he said, okay, do you think what kind of price? The chief jeweler said, it's a very precious stone, Your Majesty, so we need your generosity. Okay? So the king, being so generous, he said to the fisherman, now here is the price I give you. I will open to you all the treasures that I have. Everything that I have, I will open for you. 6 hours, from now till 6 hours. And during these 6 hours, you are allowed to go to any place and you take whatever you like. Fill as much as you can from whatever treasures you like. And the king ordered that all the safes, all the treasures will be open to the fisherman. And the fisherman went, and he was so amazed by all this gold and stones and everything that he's seeing, and his eyes became like rolling everywhere. But the generous king said to his servants, now this fisherman will spend with us 6 hours, and 6 hours is a long time, so put for him something to eat. So they made a big table for the fisherman. And then the king, because he's a generous king, he said to his servants, maybe 6 hours as well, he will get tired. So if you put for him a bed, so he will be able to rest if he wanted. But the fisherman went, and he said to himself, now, it's a long time. All these treasures I can collect in half an hour. So I will go and eat first. Then he starts to eat, and this is so beautiful. This is I never saw before, and he starts to eat and eat and eat and eat and get so much distracted with food. And he is so full. And now he said, oh, now I think I need, oh, this is a very great bed. I never saw a bed like this before. And he jumped into the bed. And he had a very nice nap. And time passes, and the guards of the king was watching the time, and after 6 hours, the doors were shut. And all the treasures doors were closed. And the guards of the king came to this fisherman and say, now, please leave. And the fisherman started to scream, no, this is unfair. This is unfair. I need my stone. You've been giving the stone. And the guards of the king took the fisherman outside the palace, and the fisherman was standing outside, screaming, it's unfair. I need my stone. Do you think that the king was unfair to the fisherman? Or the fisherman was unfair to himself? And this is the story of our own humanity. Sometimes we are this fisherman. And actually the king, the first thing that he's searching for is you. You are the most precious stone. You are the most precious one. And He is opening for you all the treasures. And He wanted you to be actually the most happy person in the world. But then sometimes, because of disinformation and because of our own selfish desires, we blame God for whatever happens in our life because we don't know ourselves as well. And that makes the picture of God is so blurry in our life. It's blurry because we don't see how we behave and why we are so disturbed and why we were so much attracted to other things and not to the actual treasures in our lives. So I feel like this is the second thing that we need to look at. What's your actual focus in life? And are you actually disturbed by the food and the rest and these images of the world that will take you from collecting the treasure that God is opening for you? And imagine the King is opening for you all the treasures of His own. All the treasures that is actually open for you. And instead of talking about the great, generous King, we're talking about the unjust King. Just because we were focused on the wrong image and we didn't see ourselves. Our own desires sometimes give a wrong impressions about God. And we wanted to blame God for everything that happens to us, and we don't take responsibility of our own actions. And sometimes it's very easy to talk about God and say, okay, God did that to me. And we want to blame Him and to hang our own mistakes on Him and say, why He didn't allow this, and why He didn't save me, why He didn't, and why He did. And that makes everything that we do in our lives as if we don't have any free will. And that means that we are hanging all our problems, we don't take our responsibilities to carry on the consequences of our own deeds, and we blame God for it, and that means that God will become so blurry. Sometimes He didn't do that for me, and I wanted God of my own interests. And that means God is so blurry in my eyes. So this is the second reason, actually, that we sometimes think that God is so blurry. Why He didn't do that and why He did that. And we don't understand and we don't see our own actions and our own responsibility of carrying God. The third, then I would not tell you a story. The third here, you know, most of the persecutions that happens in the world, it starts with what? Starts with something very small. It starts with disinformation. And I feel like we are persecuting God. We are actually persecuting God because we are having lots of disinformation about God. And the disinformation that is happening around us, actually because we are allowing ourselves not to be reasonable in believing this or not believing that. And you see all this disinformation that is happening around us because of the peers around us and because of all this information that is coming from different groups. It's filling our minds with different informations about God. And sometimes a lot of criticism are attacking our God just because this is aiming to disinformation. And of course, we need to be aware that actually we are living in a spiritual warfare. We're not just living here without it. Our fight is not with flesh and blood. Our fight with the spiritual powers and air. And that's an important thing that we need to understand, with principalities, with dominions, with all these evil spiritual powers in the air. And of course, they are using all these people around us to disinformate God. And for us, God becomes an agent, an object that we don't know about. Just simply not because of our own search, not because of our own experience, but because of the disinformation that's happening around us, and they are portraying God, whether he exists or not, or portraying him in a different way. This disinformation is actually making us look to God in a completely different way. And sometimes it creates as well lack of understanding about God. The other fourth item that I feel we are, most of the time, we're having about God is looking to God from one side. And we're seeing God from one angle, and as if we wanted to see that God on this particular situation. And I tell you, most of the time, we love to hear about God the things that it will cool our conscience from inside, or it will comfort us from one side, especially when we are searching for a justification for one of our mistakes. If I would hear about the God of judgment, the God of justice, maybe I will just feel like, no, this is not a God that I wanted. And then I would want to hear about the God of mercy and the God that He is allowing everything, and the tolerant God. And that means that there is imbalance of my vision about God. And this imbalance of the vision about God is making the picture of God is blurry. Because after all, as a human being, I need to be complete. And this complete human being would not understand incomplete God. And that's an important point. Sometimes people will comfort you in one side, and that means that you're comfortable on this area, but then it makes you unbalanced. And this unbalanced relationship, inside you, it makes you feel that you are actually not seeing God in the right way. And that's why I want you to understand about God in all the aspects, and not to depersonalize God. Most of the time you wanted the God according to your own understanding, and that makes God is so blurry, because you will not be able to complete the picture. And to make God your own self, that's your own made God, and that's not the real God. And the relationship between us and the God, the real God, that makes our self would be complete. But then, how are we receiving God, perceiving as well the concept of God? Of course, our own upbringing on a psychological level would create with us how do we see God. For example, if you talk about the authority of God in our life, and the authority of God in our life, actually, it's an important message to the inner person. But unfortunately, sometimes our upbringing, it causes for us default about how we perceive the symbol of authority in our life. Either we deal with the symbol of authority in submission, or we deal with the symbol of authority in rebellions. It depends on how you were dealt with when you were young. But this is also would be overshadowing how do you see God as a symbol of authority. Then sometimes you are so submissive in your life, in your own life, to the symbol of authority of your own, maybe your parents or your teachers, and that means you will be also submissive to God. And this submission is giving you a fear in the relationship with God. And that means you will not be able to love God, because you can't love the one you are panicking from. But at the same time, the person who was rebellious, that means as well that this person would not be always loving the symbol of authority, because this symbol of authority he would be able to attack and get what he wanted. But God is showing us a way how his authority is expressed to us. The first thing that he showed us, the symbol of authority that God is giving us everything. And even beyond our imagination, even beyond understanding. And that makes us feel like if that God, as an authority, He's giving me everything, even beyond my understanding. So imagine He's giving you His image. Just maybe if you just think a little bit beyond your imagination, and then start to think, imagine. This is not real, but it's an imagination. That God will bring you now, and He will tell you, now I want to create a human being, and I want your advice, and you will become a human being. What do you think, on what image I will create you? Do you think we would dare to ask for His image? It's beyond imagination, isn't it? That the God, the loving God, the one who is giving us beyond understanding, is giving us His image. And He wanted us to be His likeness. And that God as well, He is expressing His authority on us in a communicating way. He's a communicator. And that's why when we fail to understand and to achieve His likeness, He came. And He wanted to be like us. And this incarnation is communication. He wants to communicate with us. So the God that we are searching for is expressing His authority in a communication. He's a communicator. And what He is communicating is communicating love. And then I would see, like this God with His authority is something completely different than I would understand or I learn from my father or my parents. And that's why it's so dangerous to put the image of your parents or your teachers or the situations around you on God. As if you will not see anything and you will put everything on God. As if we imagine someone would sit here and then we tell everyone to bring all their problems and put it on Him. So one will bring a shirt, and something will bring a sheet, and we start to cover him layer after layer, and then suddenly we ask you, what do you think of this person, how he looks like? And then you will not be able to see the person because you framed him or covered him with your own psychological problems, and then the God is not a God, it's the God is you with your own problems. Then you don't see the real picture of God. And by this way we see that actually we are responsible of how we see God, because either we have this information about God, or we have psychological problem about ourselves, or we are lacking experience with God Himself, or we lack knowledge about God, or even we are depersonalizing God. We are making Him according to our own self. So now I think with this few points that we are thinking of, Now, how can we just move on if we understand all this, that these are the reasons, these are the diagnosed situation, these are the reasons that we are looking at God this way. And I feel like the whole word is the main image for God is actually so blurry. And that means that we don't see the real God around us. And that's a big danger. Even sometimes we talk about God, we don't know Him because we don't build a good relationship with Him. We don't have time to spend with Him. And this is what we need to understand, that we need actually a time to sit with Him. We wanted God as fast food God. We want just God that we will pick, okay. Or we go and we wanted the God as a solid buffet. We want just to go and see, this is the God that is offering, and I want to pick this one, and no, I don't like this one, I will pick this one. I don't like this one, I will pick this one. So the God for you, or for all the world now, became like a big salad buffet, and then we are going to pick whatever we like from it, and don't like it, so we leave it. And that's why sometimes we don't really understand about God, because we wanted to choose our own things. And this is so dangerous. God needs time to understand. And as we, as human beings, we wanted this God to be actually dwelling in us so we would understand. So now it's time for you. It's a time to make a decision. Do I really need to know God or not? Do I really need to sharpen my vision about God, or I would just hear these lectures and talks. We spend good time, so we consume the time, and then whatever happens when we continue in our lives. So this consumption of time and consumption of talks is not actually giving us good things. We don't need actually to stay on the Christian sofa and just enjoy the sitting around. You need to stand up for yourself, take responsibility of your deeds and thoughts and actions, and you need to sharpen your vision about God and take a real clear conscious decision that you will say to yourself, I will work and work hard within myself to know God. And this is a decision. If you don't take it in the beginning of your retreat, then you will spend this time actually in having fun with your friends. Then it's a social time, enjoy it. Then you don't get the fruits of it. And that means that you came here for different reasons why you came here. You came here actually to change. You need to have a change in your life. You need to take a step forward in your life. And this is a decision. Whatever you do in your life, you need to have this vision in your life. So it's your time, it's your turn. It's not my turn. It's your turn. I gave my speech, so it's okay. And my turn actually to grow in my understanding about God and sharpening my own vision about God, because what I see is what I see, is not what you see. And it's so difficult that someone will tell you, I see this. Maybe you don't see it. It's different. And that means that you are the one who wanted to see, not me. And that means I only wanted to tell you, look this way. And if you look this way, and you will find a beautiful thing. And then it's up to you to focus. This is a time for you to take your responsibility. So take it, grab your life, make your own decision, go on for it, ask, have your experience, sit and meditate about it, read about God, ask yourself, ask your servants, ask Abunas. The most important thing is you decide, I want to know the real God of what He is actually, not what I wanted this God to be. And I would not blame Him for what is happening in my life. I would take responsibility of what I'm doing to my life and make a change to meet with His vision for me. Thank you so much, and God bless you.